We better start now. So, interrupting our bit of fun there. Good afternoon, everybody, from Triathlon Show, Sandown Park, and on the sofa with me this afternoon I have Catriona Morrison. Hi, Kat.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. You're looking a bit chilly.
This is a suntan, look.
But nevertheless,
Can you see it?
you have goose pimples.
It's just because I'm so excited.
Well, apart from that, you clearly haven't come down from Scotland to a warmer climate. Where have you been recently?
Just spent 3 weeks in Lanzarote.
Very nice. And how was it over there?
Windy.
Because yeah.
I don't know why I'm laughing, but...
And probably quite difficult when it's really windy for you to stay upright sometimes out there, I guess. Heavier people like me don't have a problem.
I know, it was actually one day, it was the first weekend I arrived that I went. It was totally ironic. I was thinking I came to Lanzarote to go warm the training, and I ended up being on a turbo.
Yeah.
Behind a wall.
Yeah, because it's quite cold at this time of year, isn't it, if you're out in the sun?
Yeah, but it's just, you know, when the locals don't go out riding because it's windy, then I think you've got to listen to what they're telling you. So
well, listen, it's good that you're back in training, because you had quite a serious operation last year.
Yeah, eventually after trying to deal with having Achilles problems for on and off for 2.5 years, I got to the end of the line and decided that surgery was the best option. So in October I had bilateral Achilles scraping.
That sounds fun.
It was great fun. It was under local anaesthetic, so I was conscious the whole time.
Did they have the camera so you could watch it all?
No, I tried to look behind me. It wasn't that interesting, but when my dad was alive, we used to have this family joke that Morrisons were famed for their fat bottoms and their fat ankles. And the doctor didn't tell me I had a fat bottom, but I did ask if he could scrape some out of that as well. But he did open up my right Achilles and actually said, "Look at the fat in here."
Oh.
But to which I responded, I now know that it's now medically justified.
Probably genetic thing within the Morrison
family.
family.
I do have fat ankles.
So, I mean, but this is, to put the joking aside, I would think that there's a large proportion of the triathletes have had Achilles problems at one time or another, and have you got any idea what started off your problems and why they just wouldn't go away?
There's nothing, I mean, I think every athlete always tries to think if there's been a particular incident or something that, you know, they can actually pinpoint in the past that's been, you know, a predetermining factor, and there never really was anything that I could think of. And interestingly enough, when I eventually went and had this surgery done, and I was discussing with the surgeon the fact that I've been trying to change my biomechanics and deal with things from that perspective, he said, well, that's fantastic, it's obviously going to be of help to you in the future, but the research that this particular group are doing now tends to show that an equal number of the general population who aren't fit, who aren't actually necessarily active, still present with the same tendinosis. And now they're looking at genetic reasons, hormonal reasons, age-related reasons, so out with the sphere of being, you know, what we would tend to think of people who are, you know, have historic Achilles problems like overuse or particularly related to training. So he told me that it might just be the way I am, which could be good and bad.
Yeah, and of course we probably shouldn't tell triathletes that it's nothing to do with overuse, because they'll just carry on training, and of course that doesn't help, does it, when you have Achilles problems, when you try to return to running before it's really had time to settle down.
Yeah, and I think that it's obviously just such a new branch of the research that they're doing that you can only really go with what your feedback from your own body is, and to go within those pain thresholds and guidelines.
But I've seen some of your blog posts, and before you had your surgery you'd had 2 or 3 interesting different types of treatment, haven't you, including the saline injections? Saline
injections, the kitchen sink approach, everything and anything. And you know, the saline injections were successful for me insofar as the pain relief went, but when I started to run again I was still affected by the same issues, and it's easy for me to say that this is, you know, from my own personal perspective, that the scraping seems to have been, you know, I think it's been successful, but not everyone has the same Achilles issues, so it's really about finding the right support network and the people out there to help you.
And of course, for the majority of people who are going to be listening to this interview, the sport isn't their main source of income, but for you as a professional triathlete, not being able to run means you're not able to compete, which means you're not able to earn any money. So how does that impact on your life and your sense of and your mindset?
It is. it comes down, quite a lot of it is down to, it's a sense of self-worth, because your body is your overall package. You are, this is the tool that provides you with your income, with your raison d'etre, and when you have that taken away, you don't have something to fall back on necessarily, because a lot of people, when they lose the ability to exercise or to do what they love, they have maybe a job to fall back on, and this is everything that I did, and it does get stressful. You begin to question why you do it in the first place, because it's your sense of power as a person is so related to what you can do physically.
Yeah.
And for me, it meant taking a step back. I took a part-time job. I was able to get kind of feedback from other areas of my life, which I think is actually really important just in itself, to realise that everyone says there's more to life than triathlon or full-time sport, but it's kind of giving your 2 cents worth to that. Of course there is more to life, but until you actually force yourself to go out there and find it.
Well, and we've all heard about Alistair Brownlee's Achilles tribulations and trials before the Olympics, and in there during that time he said that most days he was thinking, I'm just going to quit this sport, I'm going to give up. And of course he didn't, but when you're frustrated you do that. Did that ever go through your mind?
Yeah, and it is frustrating, and the reason that I haven't ever given up, and I'm still trying to battle my way back from injury, is that still deep down inside that I feel that I haven't ever reached my potential as an athlete, and that's the one thing that has always kept me going, that when I walk away from the sport, I want to walk away on my own terms, and I also want to walk away thinking, I think I've gotten the most out of myself. But I think that's the same in if you're a goal-driven person, you will search for that fulfillment in as many different ways as possible.
So as a professional athlete, and you have been pretty successful, you say by a lot of people's standards, you've been a world champion in two different disciplines. Two different.
Well, long distance and short distance duathlon. I've been a medalist at World Long Course, and I've won quite a few 70.3s and a few Ironman events. But I still think there's more in there. So
of course, but so you've got quite a reasonable sponsorship package. But when you're out of the sport for what, I think your last race was Kona, was it?
Yeah.
So 2011.
Yes.
Right, so you've been out. 10. So out of the sport for best part of 2 years. How does that sit with your sponsors then?
It doesn't sit well. Insofar as your sponsors need you as an athlete to be out there performing and be out there representing them as a brand, and it's a business. Don't get me wrong, and everything is when it comes down to money, that's what it's about. And I've been very fortunate in that my main sponsors have stuck by, be it maybe some of them at a lesser level than before, but I fully acknowledge that it is a business environment, and that's what it's about. And I have to accept that if I'm not out there performing, especially also prize money, it's the definition of performance-related pay, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I don't turn up at a race and think, well, I'll just float home today because I don't get paid.
Yes, no bonuses.
No bonuses.
For losing money. But I suppose again that comes down to the relationship you have with sponsors. It seems to me these days that there are some professional athletes who are professional just because they enter the pro category, but they don't act very professionally and look after the sponsors. There are some people who go out of their way to make sure they do anything they can for their sponsors, and I guess that comes back in your favour if you're not able to race.
Absolutely. There's other things you can do for your sponsors. As far as I'm concerned, it's part of an overall relationship that you're building. It's not just about being a face and a name. It's about representing a brand. It's about doing other things within your capability when you're not actually able to do the races. And for me, I think it's loyalty at the end of the day. And the sponsors I work with, I believe in them and their products, and they believe in me, so that's why they've stuck by me.
Well, it's obviously from your perspective, it's always easy to re-sign with an existing sponsor if you get on with them than try and find a new one.
Absolutely, and before I've been sponsored by people, they've always been brands or products that I've used in the past. I can't speak for every athlete, but I always like to work with people that I do believe in the products that I'm endorsing. There's no point in saying, oh well, I take this supplement 5 times a day. If I don't do it and I don't believe in it. Yeah,
and I think you have to have a bit of fun with the sponsor and get on with them as well, don't you? It's there's no point in just taking the shilling because they're offering it when you really don't believe in it or like them. You sort of reluctant.
But it's at the end of the day, it's not about the sponsorship. I would do the sport and any sport, and something that I enjoyed because of the sheer enjoyment and the fun that's involved, and that's what keeps me ticking and keeps me going, is that search for the enjoyment and the fun, and being able to push and challenge myself. And if someone is helping me along that road, then that's fantastic. And at the same time, if I have to do it by myself, then I'll do it.
So you mentioned just coming back from Lanzarote, so you're obviously back in training now. You did say that you'd started running. How much progress have you made there?
I'm now running every second day, and I'm up to about 30 to 35 minutes.
Steady?
Steady.
Yeah.
Not tried to do anything hard yet. Partially because maybe I don't know what will happen. There could be a loud explosion.
Yeah.
No, it's just very much related to how my body's feeling, listening to that feedback. If I wake up and I'm in any way stiff or pain or in any amount of pain, then I say no, not today.
I guess also because you're from a running background, used to running, so when you haven't run for so long, if you not just concerning the injury you're rehabbing from, but there's the risk of injuring other parts by trying to build up the volume. You can't return quickly to where you used to be, can you? Even if you've been running all your life. Yeah,
and the danger actually is that when you're so used to being very, very fit and maintaining a high level of fitness, you find other ways to do that. So be it pool running, on a cross trainer, for example, all these different mechanisms of maintaining a high cardiovascular fitness, which means that when you do start running, you're actually pretty much quite fast, quite quickly.
Yeah.
But that in itself is a danger, because that leads you to want to do more and more without, as you say, having the long, slow build up, the resilience that you need to be able to start exercising under your own body weight again. And that's the one thing I'm trying to be really cautious about this time, is that I know that my heart and lungs are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's about making sure that muscular skeletal system is ready to cope with being weight bearing again.
I had a very similar conversation with Alison Rose, who runs the physio clinic in Leeds.
Yes.
And works with Alistair and Johnny and Jack and Jessica Ennis, and she was saying the same thing, that compared to runners, triathletes can keep very aerobically fit, just as you mentioned, and that's actually a big danger. Most triathletes would think that's a plus, but actually when you've been injured, it's actually probably a negative.
Yeah, because you're ready to jump in at the deep end, because your fitness comes back so quickly.
Yeah. So do you see the prospect of return to racing this year at any time?
Yeah, I really want to go to St. Croix as my first race, and for me the goal, the goal is always to go and win a race, because otherwise you wouldn't want to put yourself in the start line.
And you're a previous winner in St. Croix?
Yes, I'm a three-time winner.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to go back to somewhere that you're familiar with. And as I get closer and closer to May, and I'm not maybe doing as much running as I want to, my goals are kind of shifting. So at the moment I'm still, yes, I want to go there, and if I can run a half marathon without being in pain, then that'll be fantastic. And I just need to put my ego in my back pocket.
But you wouldn't contemplate again a thought process that might go through the mind of a lot of age groupers, right? Well, if I think I'm half fit, I'll go and I'll try it on the day. You wouldn't dream of doing that. You'd want to run 13 miles before you went.
Yeah, I need to know that I can run that distance pain-free, first and foremost. It's about the pain response.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to actually get out there and complete a race, rather than thinking I'm going to go out there and win, because that would be unrealistic, given that I've had so long out in the sport. I want to go and I want to have an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
And the results will take care of themselves at the end of the day. I'll smile and across the line, regardless of what position that is.
And I guess the long-term plan must be at Kona.
Absolutely.
Top 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. It's been a few years, and I know it's physically that I'm capable of doing it. It's just,
well, there's girls out there that you've
keep doing it. Oh, absolutely.
That are finishing in the top 3.
And it's frustrating, but again, that's part of the challenge. That's what keeps you going. If you ultimately haven't gotten the goal that you're striving for, then you keep wanting to chip away at it.
So, have you had a chance to have a look around the show?
I have.
Tell me what you've seen that's taken your eye.
Well, of course, I've been at the CompuTrainer stand.
Very good. Supporting your sponsors. Yeah.
Actually, I've only been up down this right-hand side so far.
Yeah.
I'm pacing myself because I've got tomorrow.
And of course, everyone knows you, so you'll get 5 metres and somebody will go,
No,
"Hey, Cat!"
that's not true at all.
So it take you half a day to get around and visit everything.
It's a really good opportunity to see a lot of people in one small confined area.
Yeah.
To catch up with people, and yeah, I'm quite enjoying that.
Good, and you'll be going to the awards dinner tonight?
Absolutely, you know me. I can talk the hind legs off a donkey.
But off duty, so no awards to collect, no need to be on...
No
need to keep a sense of decorum.
No, I'm back in training now.
Yeah.
Lots of decorum. I actually had to get my husband to send me down some clothes to wear. I forgot that being away for the past 3 weeks that my version of being smart is like the newest set of lycra outfit that I can find.
That's right. And in Lanzarote, you can turn up to a restaurant in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and sandals, and that'd be smart. That might be frowned upon even amongst triathletes.
Yes, I've had to get some clothes sent down.
Yeah, great. Well, listen, we'll look forward to seeing you tonight. Thanks very much for joining us today.
No problem.
And enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.